The idea of like all the pressures of society and us accepting the structure, right? Because that's what it comes down to. Is like, what
Ah,
structure do I want to accept? So it's like, do I want to live in the cage that's blue? Do I want to live in the cage that's gold, or do I want to roam free and no judgment and just be, right? Be
just
that
be.
bird that doesn't need to be caged, and doesn't need to be heard, right? I like the way I fly, the way I call, right?
Mm.
It's just the way I do it, and it's not gonna be any predisposition or any other intentions behind it. It's just I'm just gonna be the bird that I was always meant to be. Like how I was, like we always talk about, Andy, like I ain't gonna die with my music in me. Like
Mm.
I'm gonna fly.
I
Set
ain't
me
going.
free.
I ain't taking no love to the grave.
No,
Mm. Love it.
not.
I love
I'm
it.
gonna drain the swamp. I'm just kidding. I won't even go there.
You gonna drain the swamp? Oh man. So I got one more. Lori Golden, LCSW. She out here, but her name is Lori Golden,
Yeah, she
and
only.
she out there. Their poem is there is nowhere to run and nowhere to hide when we are running from ourselves, only suffering. There is nowhere to run and nowhere to hide when we are running from ourselves,
Mm,
only suffering.
that's so beautiful, Andy. That's like one of the most. Ah, only suffering when we
Only
hide from
suffering.
ourselves. I just
It's
picture
that.
us as an individual, like when you hide from yourself, like you're almost like in a cage in the corner and it's dark and you're just casting shadows of judgment on yourself. And there's only shame that comes from that. There's only suffering that comes from that. It's so beautifully.
Oh, you're hiding from yourself to the point where any place that casts your reflection, you don't want to see. You don't want to see the mirror. You don't want to see that puddle of water that'll reflect you. You don't want to see none of that. Walking by your car, there's a reflection on the car. Like anything that could show yourself, you're hiding from it. It's almost
Oh,
impossible. It's so much suffering trying to get away from you yourself.
Annie, this is gold. What you just said is so fascinating because then if you're afraid and hiding from yourself, then when you see other people in their greatness, you're going to pass judgment because you don't want to see yourself like that, right? You're going to judge them because you
You're
don't want
gonna
to see that in you because you'll just think negative, so you show up in negativity by passing judgment, showing like throwing that fear onto people who maybe are sharing their light because you're too afraid because you'll judge yourself because you're not good enough, right? This idea. So that's really powerful. That reflection aspect of when you see other people on that aspect of shame. Very
and
powerful.
even sometimes where people will look at someone like, oh, they think they're all that. No, they don't think they're all that. They're living in their light. You just afraid of living in your light. So you're looking at them in the negative way because they're owning their place in life. They're owning it while you're was always afraid to try to reach that because that fear was in you instead. So people sometimes the judgment that people pass on them on other people is really the judgment they're passing on themselves already. So it's like,
And see, is there any way that before we head out that you kind of like move past shame, or how do you live in your light? You know what I mean, and not judge yourself, or how do you like find inspiration, or to keep going and not live in shame? Is there anything you would like to share with our community? And
it's the same thing I almost always say. You just got to keep it evolving. You always got to want
mm,
more for yourself. You can't settle for yourself. Sometimes the biggest thing we do is we settle on everything in life. But don't ever settle for yourself. I don't care if it's
two sticks.
push-ups. I don't care if it's a jog. I don't care if it's taking a test. You got a 90% last time. Go aim for that 91, that 92, and 93. Always try to beat yourself every single time. Go for more. Evolve. Always become better because we're capable. That's within us to always become better. Like if we couldn't become better as humans, we'd still be in caves. We'd still be playing with fire. We'd still be pushing a stone rock. Would have never got to where we are in life if we just always settled. So don't settle now in your life. Keep pushing for more, and more will always come. More will always come.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's inspiring as fuck. I like Bob Marley in Redemption song. He says, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery." Emancipate yourself from mental
Ooh.
slavery. This idea of the, like you said, that cage also. It's just whatever we want to allow it in our minds. So emancipate, proclamate,
Free yourself from that.
treat yourself.
Mm.
All right, Andy, thank you so much.
All right. I'm going to go back to my printer. I'm going back to my printer.
Thank you for joining us in your courage and your greatness, Andy. Take it easy.
Always, always.
Hey, Andy Jean-Pierre. We're going to flash forward in the moment. He just dropped Redemption song, though, of course. That Marley quote. Redemption song. Look at y'all coming out of the woodworks. Of course. Bob Marley, though. I got a poster in the back, though. It's actually Don's poster right there. Siempre. Joining us, V, aka Vanessa. Thank y'all for joining us for episode 48. I love talking about this, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day, whether you came on the show and just shared about shame. It's not easy to talk about shame openly like this, so I appreciate every single one of you just being part of this. And us, let's see, where's V? Squirtle evolves to War Turtle. Who evolves to Blastoise? Oh man, I don't know what we're doing here. Brendan, you got me. Somebody answer Brendan. We love to hear you talking. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Internet went out again. I don't know what's happening.
It's okay. Just like Cassandra said, it's okay.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay. I'm so glad to have you here in this moment right now, and thank you for taking the time. And I love how you're just perfectly situated by the window. So perfect.
You know, if I couldn't be outside, I had to be by a window. That's how I get my light, you know?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for joining us. Is there anything you want to share? I know you were speaking a little bit about.
Yes. First of all, everything that everybody has said, I was just over here like, yes, yes. And
I saw you.
Like, can we all hang out? Can we all hang out? No, for real. For real. I have so many things to say about this, and I don't even know how I can say it in like 2 minutes. But this thing about shame, I always think about like it brings us to like a level of saturation, right? Like how much, right? Like sometimes we'll take it, we're like, I'm feeling that shame, and then it just piles on, right? It piles on and it piles on, and I don't know, I get to a point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to feel that way anymore. And then it shifts to, so what am I going to do? Right? And that what am I going to do piece,
yes,
is absolutely like, okay, is this shame coming from somebody else? Is it coming from that judgment? Have you ever heard of like, don't should yourself?
Yes.
Don't should, you know, like, no, I shouldn't do anything. I did what I needed to do. Like I did what I did because that's what I needed to do in that moment. Like Brendan said, right?
Yes.
And I always think like, okay, what can I control in this moment? So if there's judgment coming at me, I can control whether I let that affect me or not, right? I can control how I shift what that means. That's not mine. That their shit is not mine. Their judgment is not mine. Just like Jasmine said, right? Like, it's not mine.
I love that she said that.
It just reminds me of like the 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally, right?
Yeah.
What people do is not because of you. It's not, right? So that's where that judgment and shame comes in. And then that piece of like controlling what you can control. Did I do my best? Did I do my best? Which is another 4 agreements, right?
It is. Yes.
Do your best. It's going to change in any given moment. So did I do my best in that moment? And then I give myself a little love and self-compassion, right? I did the best I could with what I had. And I give myself that love that nobody else is giving me, right? If that's what's happening right now from the external part. But yeah, we can control what we can control. So
that's powerful.
Yeah, and we can't control what people do or say. We cannot, but we can control how we react to it.
V, thank you for sharing that. It was beautiful. And thank you for showing up here in your greatness and light. As always, the moment I realized that I can't control other people and I let go of that, like, and it's not even like I realize it, it's like I'm constantly realizing it, right? Every day I have to be like, oh, wait, no, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, this idea. And the cool thing about that, then what's available after that, right? So if I can't control everybody else, what's left? And when you sit in that, when you sit in that, you're like, well, I can control what I do. All right, so what do you want to do, right? What makes V tick? What makes that fire within her go?
Yep.
And then that's where I feel like that's where life comes in. It's like, how do you want to live your life? And when you recognize that question, how do I want to live life? Like me? How do I want to live life? And I get to choose. And for every minute of the day, I get to choose what that looks like. That is so empowering and
It's
so relieving.
free.
It's freeing. Liberation.
Yes. And it all comes from that awareness. We have to be aware that that's even happening. We have to be aware that someone is even judging us. We have to be aware that I'm feeling some type of way that someone's judging me, right? Like, we have to be aware. So
yes, I would love to read.
I love talking to y'all.
Me too. Oh, absolutely. And thank you for you light up the chat so beautifully with your light and the quotes. Johnny even said like you have like photogenic memory. He's like, how do you do this? Like, he's so fast.
What was that line? What was that line?
It resonates with you a lot. I would love to read this poem for the last part of our show, and then we'll head out and then into the post show. We have a special guest, Better Than You Two, is coming in and dropping a community poem for us. It's really dope, and it's the first time they've ever been on live. So welcome them. Join me in the post show. Show some love. We know how it could be when, like Brendan knows how it is. Everybody, I know how it is to be your first time on live and how that goes. So I'll read this out, and thank you for joining us, V. I do appreciate you, as always.
Thank you.
Today, I love myself. I am warmed in a blanket of love I set for me. Wrapped in cloth of lies I have used to grow stronger. I hear a song on the radio that makes me cry with happiness. And I am thankful to be the glue that holds my family together. The joys of the middle child. I get strength from my mother and grandmother, who are diamonds, sparkling in the sunlight, strong and elegant. I feel connected to the earth when the rain comes, washing away all the sadness, if only for a day. And today, I love myself. I don't know if you caught that, but that shit. But it reminded me of like Reiki, the idea of like, if only for a day, if only one day, today I love myself. And you say that. Yes, you did get it. Oh, God. I love that line. Thank y'all for joining us. Thank you, V, for, I hear you. Thank you for joining us here today on shame, talking about shame and guilt and how we move forward from that. And this line perfectly says that, and like, love yourself. Just, it's simple. Just love yourself. And whatever that looks like for you, whether it's going outside in the park and walking jolly, whether that's going in the park or ending up at the window and going on live, whether that's talking about Pokemon, whether that's being with your family in a car and trying to read Cassandra's poem, whether that's you're on the computer and trying to get work done, but you also want to speak about poetry and share your love for how you feel about life with other people and create inspirations. Whatever you choose to do in the aspect of loving yourself, just do it. Just do it. And you don't need permission. You don't need permission. Thank y'all for joining on episode 48. 2 more. Oh my God. 2 more till 50. We gotta do something crazy. I know episode 100 we're gonna do fireworks. Episode 50 is gonna be insane, and 49 is gonna be lit too tomorrow. We have a very special guest. One of my inspirations in the poetry community. KMS.